Happy Friday. Oh, it is. It is a Friday episode of Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I am Alex Donno, ready to hit happy hour in a couple of hours. I think we've all earned it today, right? I think we've all earned a few adult beverages this weekend. Whether you cover the Miami Dolphins, I know some of you that tune in are media members and vloggers and bloggers and YouTubers, so this is part of your gig as well. Whether you cover the Dolphins or you're just a Dolphins fan, this week has been exhausting. I don't know if there's a light at the end of the tunnel anytime soon because I don't know how much of a rush Stephen Ross and Chris Greer are in announcing their next head coach. But they have requested at least 7 interviews, 7 that we know of, and likely we know of all the interviews that are happening because you can't really keep this a secret. Like, it's not one of these things like people are wondering, hey, are they interviewing Harbaugh and we just don't know about it? Or are they interviewing Doug Peterson and we don't know about it? Like, you're supposed to disclose it. Maybe you don't have to disclose it right away, but I don't think any rules are being bent here. So we're going to be talking about throughout this episode. We know 7 gentlemen, 7 individuals that have been officially named candidates now. The 7th one came out within the last couple of hours, in case you weren't aware. But there are now 7 individuals being linked as candidates to this Miami Dolphins head coaching job. And so I thought, you know what? I've been doing research on enough of these guys the last few days, and I'm formulating opinions, and my opinions are evolving. So something we're going to do on this episode is I am going to give you my power rankings. I'm going to start at the bottom from number 7, and I'm going to work my way up to number 1. Now, here's a disclaimer, because I know I'm going to get some arguments, and we're going to get some banter here on the chat today, which I love. I love the comments. And by the way, if you're watching us live right now at 3:01 p.m. on Friday, if you're watching us live right now, take advantage of the live comments. As long as you have a Google account, you're signed in on YouTube, you can it's like having a live chat room. It is literally is a live chat room that goes while we're doing the show. So take advantage of that. Usually people in the chat are pretty nice. If we ever get any bullies in there, we'll scold them or we'll block them or something. Usually everybody's very civil. So please partake in the live chat. It's a lot of fun. Plus, I give shout outs to the live chat at the end of the show. And during the show, we sometimes pull up messages from the live chat. Now, whether you're watching this live or you're watching this on replay later on, be sure to do us a solid and smash that like button. Smash the like button, the thumbs up button, and make sure if you haven't already, you are subscribed to 5 Reasons Sports on YouTube. So let me tell you in no particular order, before I give you a very particular order, who the Miami Dolphins have requested interviews with. Some familiar faces on this list. Vance Joseph, who's a former Dolphins defensive coordinator, former Denver head coach, current defensive coordinator with the Cardinals. Dolphins are speaking with him. Another familiar face, Brian Daboll. I know it's been a minute, but 2011, he worked with the Miami Dolphins on Tony Sparano's staff, so he's a former Dolphins offensive coordinator. He's now the Bills offensive coordinator. They're talking to him. They're talking with Mike McDaniel, who's become a very hot name, OC of the San Francisco 49ers. They're talking with Dan Quinn, former Falcons head coach. Did work on a Dolphins staff coaching the defensive line about 15 years ago. He's getting interviewed. He's the Cowboys defensive coordinator. They are interviewing Leslie Frazier, former Vikings head coach, Bills offensive coordinator. They are interviewing Kellen Moore, the Dallas Cowboys offensive coordinator, former NFL and Boise State quarterback. And the latest one that was added to the list is Thomas Brown, who is the Rams running backs coach and assistant head coach. And it is the same Thomas Brown that actually worked under Mark Richt at the University of Miami. So South Florida sports fans know him very well. So those are the 7 names that have been confirmed. There could be more added to this list. So I'm not saying this is the final 7. This is a battle royale. This is Squid Game and only one can win. There could be more names added to this list. But as of right now, as of today, these are the 7 individuals who are officially part of the Miami Dolphins head coaching search. And so some notable names who've not been included, at least not yet. Jim Harbaugh, and actually no one in the NFL to this point has requested an interview with Jim Harbaugh. So Harbaugh may be playing some hardball right now with Michigan and trying to see, because remember, he took a pay cut just last year at Michigan. So maybe he's trying to get that bag at Michigan. And if he doesn't get the bag for Michigan, then maybe he branches out and looks around the NFL. But nobody, including the Dolphins, have requested an interview with Jim Harbaugh at this time. And guys, I can't say I'm shocked by this because I said this several times throughout the week. This is an ever evolving coaching search, yes, but once the job came open on Monday, we didn't have a show Wednesday, but Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, I was talking about individuals I would like to see under consideration for this Dolphins job. And my top two choices, if I was going to be formulating my list, would be Doug Peterson, former Dolphins quarterback and Super Bowl winning coach a few years ago with the Eagles, and Jim Caldwell, former Colts head coach and Lions head coach. He had a cup of coffee down here in Miami, and then, health problems, aka maybe not wanting to work with Flo, caused him to leave a couple of years ago. But those are my top two choices. And at this time, it doesn't look like the Dolphins are interested in either of them, which is, I think it's annoying because I'm looking for people. If I'm Stephen Ross, I'm a few billion short of being Stephen Ross. But if I'm Stephen Ross, I'd be looking for a lot of people who have head coaching experience because so many, and I'm not saying ultimately you have to give the job to someone with head coaching experience, but I want to interview enough people as possible who have been head coaches at the NFL level because all the hires that the Stephen Ross regime has made over the years, Tony Sparano, technically, maybe a Parcells hire, but from Sparano to Philbin to Gase to Flores, they've all been coordinators with no head coaching experience. So I'd like to look at as many former head coaches or even current head coaches as possible. So I'm a little bit puzzled. We'll talk a little bit more later on as to why Peterson and Caldwell are apparently not in consideration, at least not yet. Okay. I gave you the 7 names that are in consideration. Let me give you my power ranking. I'll start at the bottom with my number 7, and I will work my way up to number 1. And I want to remind people that in about 9 minutes, my very good friend Stephen D from Miami Sports Music from the show Clock Blockers is going to join me to talk a lot about what I'm talking about right now. And then at 3:45, the prodigal son has returned. At 3:45, it's been a minute. Lee Sterling from ParamountSports.com will join me to give you a betting preview for the weekend. We've got, 6 wild card games coming up this weekend. We got UFC fights this weekend. So Lee Sterling is going to lock in some winners with us at about 3:45 today. So without further ado, here is my personal power ranking from number 7 to number 1 on the current Miami Dolphins head coaching candidates. Feel free to comment or to argue with me in the chat. Dead last at number 7 is the newest name that's been added to the list, and that's Thomas Brown, the Rams running backs coach and assistant head coach. This is a hard no for me. Only 2 years of NFL coaching experience, no head coaching experience. It's, I don't know if this is a Rooney Rule thing or what. It's a little bit strange that he's even getting interviewed. And I covered Thomas Brown when he was with the Miami Hurricanes. Really nice guy. I hope he succeeds, but he's not ready. Like, it's way too soon into his career. So he's dead last for me at number 7. Number 6 for me. It's tough to rank him this low, but I have to rank him this low. Again, lack of experience. And that's Kellen Moore, Dallas Cowboys offensive coordinator. Too young and just too green for this job. Just 3 years ago, this guy was a Cowboys quarterback who made the transition to coaching. Now he's their offensive coordinator. He's only 33 years old. He's just too young and too inexperienced for Stephen Ross to take a gamble like this. Like, you got to go cut your teeth, Kellen. Like, you've got to cut your teeth for at least a few more years as a coordinator, maybe try a head coaching gig somewhere else. This is just way too important of a hire, right? We've failed at this too many times, the Miami Dolphins. We failed too many times in getting the right head coach. Kellen Moore is just too young and too green for this. And yeah, the Cowboys offense is great. I'd love to put up numbers like the Cowboys offense, but their personnel is also elite on that side of the football compared to the Miami Dolphins. So, like, how much credit does Kellen Moore really get for that? And I know that one of the interesting things that people have pointed out about Kellen Moore, to me, this doesn't automatically qualify him for the job, but it's an interesting piece of trivia. The last left-handed quarterback in the NFL before Tua Tagovailoa was Kellen Moore. So, okay, It's a lefty quarterback, might know how to work with another lefty quarterback. That's nice, but I don't think that qualifies him to be the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. So he's number 6 out of 7 for me. I'm scratching him off the list. Number 5 for me. This is a great message from Alf. He fails the pube count test. Oh man, that's you make me laugh, man. And Alfredo Arteaga, by the way, he does an awesome job on 3 yards per carry. And I'm going to quote these guys a couple times because I was listening to their latest episode. It's one of the better episodes they've done. Alfredo, Chris Kaufman, and Simon, they were all together again, which is rare these days because Simon, he's in another time zone. But they talked about the head coaching candidates, and I thought they raised some awesome points. Okay, number 5 out of 7 on my list. Vance Joseph, who's the Cardinals defensive coordinator, former Denver Broncos head coach, former Miami Dolphins defensive coordinator. He worked under Adam Gase for a year. I really like Vance. Like, he's definitely got some strengths that he could bring to the table. He's a defensive guru like Brian Flores. And yeah, I'm going to quote 3 yards per carry because I think it was Chris who said on their show that like Vance Joseph is like a much friendlier version of Brian Flores. He's a lot better with the media. When we used to cover Vance in 2016, I was covering practices back then. He would have his weekly media sessions, and he was great to talk to. I mean, I know people don't, you don't want to use that as a criteria to hire a head coach necessarily. Brilliant defensive mind. I really don't necessarily think Stephen Ross should be hiring someone who worked under Adam Gase, though. The optics of that aren't great, and his head coaching tenure in Denver did not go well. So his brief head coaching experience, Vance Joseph, was not very good. He's low on my list for those reasons. Number 4 for me, so he's kind of smack dab in the middle. Leslie Frazier, Bills defensive coordinator. Again, great defensive mind. I think he could bring some continuity to this Dolphins defense. When he was the head coach in Minnesota, this was pointed out not only by 3 yards per carry, but also our guy Hussam Patel at 5reasonsports.com wrote a tremendous rundown of the coaching candidates. Hussam and I maybe slightly disagree on a couple things, but I agree with a lot of what he said. But Leslie Frazier, when he was the head coach in Minnesota, he and his staff unfortunately failed to develop any quarterbacks during that time. So the Dolphins need more help on the offensive side of the football right now. Yeah, you want continuity on defense. That's great, but you also need to build and develop an offense and a quarterback. So I think we could do worse than Leslie Frazier, but I do not think he is the guy to fix this offense. And honestly, on this Dolphins short list, there are maybe too many defensive guys for my taste. Like, I'd like to focus more on offensive guys, but it is what it is. Number 3 on my list. So we're getting to the point where any of my top 3, I wouldn't lose any sleep over it if they were given the job. Like, any of my top 3, I can live with it. Like I said, there are people whose names are not on the list that I think should be. But if I'm going to go by who's being interviewed, this is my top 3. Number 3, Brian Daboll, Bills offensive coordinator. He knows Tua since he worked with him at Alabama. So there's that. That could be a good thing or a bad thing. It probably is a good thing, but hear me out on this one. So on the good end of it, like if you were to bring in Brian Daboll as head coach, to work with Tua again, he might be able to facilitate developing Tua and also ensuring that the offense is right for him because he knows Tua's strengths and weaknesses. Or on the bad side of it, maybe they just give him the job because he's worked with Tua and because he likes Tua. And for the Tua haters out there, that wouldn't be very good news because that might result in the Dolphins sticking with Tua for longer than they should, right? So maybe even if next year doesn't go great, maybe they'll say, well, you know what? He needs more time with Daboll. So I would worry about that. But a thing about Daboll, I would be really excited, though, and this is no guarantee, but I would love it, if the Dolphins gave the job to Daboll and he brings down Ken Dorsey, who's his quarterback's coach. He's the OC at Buffalo. Dorsey is his quarterback's coach. If he were to bring Dorsey down and make him offensive coordinator, I would be like a kid in a candy store. I love Ken Dorsey. I'm a big Miami guy. So that, I would be geeking out to that. All right, let's get to the top 2 here, and then we're going to bring on Stephen D. My number 2, and this is where, I'm about to lose the chat. I was doing so well. People weren't complaining that much. I'm about to lose the chat with my number 2 because you're going to be mad he's not my number 1. My number 2, Mike McDaniel, offensive coordinator, San Francisco 49ers. So just before you attack me, keep in mind I do have him in my top 2, which is pretty good because 90% of you in the chat, this guy is your number 1. And yeah, Zachary B saying it. I'm a McDaniel stan. And there are a lot of, and I'm, you know what? And I'm, John Marco going after me too. Okay, so Mike McDaniel, let me go over the good and the reservations, okay? So I'll start with the reservations. This is why he's not my number 1. And these aren't necessarily weaknesses, but they are concerns, okay? Because I don't know what is a weakness until he gets a chance to be a head coach. But concerns I have, I don't like his lack of head coaching experience. The fact that he doesn't technically call the offensive plays in San Francisco. Kyle Shanahan does. I know that they collaborate and he designs the plays, but he doesn't have technically play calling experience. And I don't really love the fact that he's not a former player. You know, he's an egghead. He looks like Rick Moranis. That might make it tough to get the respect of a locker room of 53 NFL players. However, let me give you the good. All the nerds tell me this guy is a fucking genius, okay? And I trust the opinions of a lot of these nerds, okay? He's an egghead, like I said. It also kind of makes him endearing because I'm watching a lot of the press clips. People are posting these YouTube compilations of McDaniel meeting with the press. He's incredibly entertaining. And I think people like the fact that since he isn't a former player, he took a non-traditional route to become, an NFL high-level assistant coach. So that's cool. He's uber intelligent. He's a Yale graduate. My sister, who's much smarter than me, is a Yale graduate. So I know it's not easy to get through that program. I could have never made it through Yale at any way, believe me. And yeah, why he's regarded as a genius is for Mike McDaniel, his play designs are legendary and widely respected, especially in the run game. He was a run game coordinator before he became an offensive coordinator. So the reason why he's my second choice and not my first is his lack of head coaching experience. But I would be happy if he got the job. Now, this wasn't easy. This wasn't easy to do. But my number 1 choice out of the 7 candidates, okay, Dan Quinn, Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator. I am warming up a lot to the idea of Quinn, and this is the primary reason why. This guy can build a staff. You're talking about the anti-flow. What couldn't Brian Flores do? Brian Flores couldn't build a staff to save his life. Brian Flores could not find anyone competent to work under him. Dan Quinn specializes with surrounding himself with great people. As Hussam Patel pointed out on 5reasonsports.com, quote, Quinn built a really good staff in Atlanta. He was the head coach there, which included Terry Rubisky, Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur, and Mike McDaniel. If Quinn becomes the next head coach, his offensive staff would be intriguing. Now, I had mentioned throughout the week that I'd prefer an offensive guy over a defensive guy. Obviously, Quinn is a defensive guy, but Quinn knows how to build an offensive staff. So that takes a big part of that concern away. I wasn't in love with his tenure as head coach in Atlanta, but he did get them to a Super Bowl, and he had a 25-point lead in that Super Bowl before they pissed it. Okay, so they're coming after me with pitchforks. Dan Quinn, and this is well said by Alfredo, Mike McDaniel is the, quote, take a stab at a genius candidate. He seems like a genius. Not all geniuses are successful. I'm not all that successful, and I'm a genius. Our next guest is our first guest, I should say, is a very successful genius.
Oh,
and that
whoa.
Is
whoa, that was a big close-up there.
Have you ever had your IQ tested? I have not. I assume it's off the charts, but I've never had it tested.
I'm not even going to go there. I know that if I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room.
Well, you're in the wrong room right now, sir.
What's up, baby? How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm trying to figure out who the next head coach is going to be. So
I'm all set. Yeah. I got my top 5 candidates and everything, man. I'm ready to go.
Okay, well, before I get yours, what do you think of mine? Because I think I had people until I got to my top 2.
Can I be honest with you? You know, I love you. You know you're my best buddy.
Uh-huh.
No. Bad. Just horrible. Straight garbage.
Horrible.
Yes.
Garbage.
Yes. You had
Well, okay.
you had McDaniel on there. Come on, bro. Come on, bro.
Bro, I am ranking the people who are officially candidates.
Alex.
You don't like McDaniel?
And no way. Not for the Dolphins. Really? Not for the Dolphins. Not for the Dolphins. Go give me real quick. Name your top 5 again.
Okay, I'll give you my top 7.
I just want your top 5 so it can match up against me.
Well, okay, I'll give you my top 5. Number 5, Vance Joseph. Number 4, Leslie Frazier.
Yes.
Number 3, Brian Dable.
No.
Number 2,
a 10-foot pole.
Oh, and number 2, Mike McDaniel, and number 1, Dan Quinn.
No, maybe Dan Quinn. I don't know if he reaches my top 5. He's not in my top 5, but I can understand it. I can understand it.
Well, give me your top 5 then. I'm very curious now.
All right, number 5 for the Miami Dolphins coaching candidates for the Stephen D. I'm going to go Leslie Frazier. I think Leslie Frazier is very intriguing to me on many different levels. He's a former head coach in the NFL. He's played in the NFL. He understands what it takes to be successful from both ends, both standpoints. He's a former Super Bowl champion. He played on the 85 Bears.
Yeah.
He knows. And not only that, he's been a head coach in the NFL. So I truly believe that the best thing for me on this level for the Dolphins and where they need to go, Alex, is the next head coach of the Miami Dolphins has had, in my opinion, has to have been a former head coach in the NFL.
Because, and I agree with that. And it makes me wonder why they're interviewing so many coordinators. Like they're interviewing mostly coordinators. I don't love it.
Again, if you listen to my morning show, you will hear me say vehemently, I do not trust the Miami Dolphins to do the right thing here. I don't.
Neither do I.
At all. But you're asking me my top 5 coaching candidates. This is my top 5. Okay. So Leslie Frazier's up there. I think he would be able to bring it. All these guys go without saying that I'm going to say, I think they could all bring in great coordinators to help build up the offense and the defense. And they would bring in guys that would absolutely be amazing from a standpoint of developing young talent, being able to, not letting, who's the guy, Illuminor, leave in training camp to go start with Vegas. Are you kidding me? So, it's little things like that, right? So I think Leslie Frazier is my number 5. Number 4 is going to surprise you. And it's going to surprise a lot of people. And it's on nobody's radar. It's on nobody's list. It's never going to happen. But you're asking me my top 5.
Okay.
Number 4 for me is Pep Hamilton. Pep Hamilton is somebody that I absolutely love.
He should have been our offensive coordinator last year.
He should have been our offensive coordinator last year. He was the DC Defenders head coach in the XFL. And, and they had a dominant defense in the XFL, right? So I'm not worried about that. And I think that
are you really trying to project XFL success into the, like, I can't just let that slide. I can't let you get into my show.
You can call me out. You can call me out. That's fine.
I have to call you out because listen, I like Pep Hamilton, but don't start flexing the man's XFL resume. None of that in this room here.
Come on, bro. Don't knock my man Dwayne The Rock Johnson in the XFL now, bro. No, seriously though, like look at what he's done. He was a quarterbacks coach at Howard. He was the offensive coordinator. He's been what else? He's been a wide receivers coach, offensive coordinator, assistant head coach, quarterbacks. He's the only coach in my timeline that has not been a head coach in the NFL.
Yeah.
Okay. Has not been a head coach in the NFL, but I love what he brings. Everything. I've had former players that have played under him that say he's my favorite coach I've ever played for. He's a player's guy.
I like it.
And he's been around and played. And again, the other thing you will notice about all of my top 5 is they've been around. Mm-hmm. So, which means they can bring a staff together.
Yes.
What we need to do.
Bingo.
Right?
Bingo.
All right. Number 3 on my list, Jim Harbaugh. I think Jim Harbaugh is one of the most intriguing candidates for me. Again, I don't think it's going to happen, but I like what he brings. He's been to a Super Bowl as a coach.
And he can build a staff.
He can build a heck of a staff and develop young talent. And again, I think he's there's not much more that needs to be said. Number 2, Jim Caldwell. Jim Caldwell has been successful pretty much everywhere he's been. And I truly think out of all the candidates, he's not my number 1, but he probably should be. He's up there. There's a lot to like about him. He's been around. And again, I think he would be able to bring in an offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator and make this thing work. He's not afraid to be not the smartest person in the room, if that makes sense. Where Flores didn't like that.
And it's frustrating to me because I like and the list that I gave out today, I was ranking the people that they're interviewing, but I've said it many times. I said it on your show on Wednesday. I've said it on this show throughout the week. My ideal top 2 choices would be Doug Peterson and Jim Caldwell. And yes, Brooklyn Rob, I say that despite the fact that Caldwell is elderly, because I know that people are going after me for ageism, right? Because he's 67 years old. He's getting up there in years, but Jim Caldwell would be one of my top 2 choices. And from what we understand, A, they've not requested to interview him, and B, it's been reported.
But we wouldn't know. He's not on anybody's coaching staff. We wouldn't know.
Well, you still have to announce even
after it's over.
True. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But there was a report this week from the guys at 3 yards per carry that the Dolphins are actually not interested in him. So maybe that has something to do with the way.
Again, I didn't say that any of these guys were going to be the guy in Miami. Again, for the record, Alex, I have no faith that my team, my favorite team that I love in this world, is going to do the right thing here at all.
And I'll say this for the record: I would actually feel more comfortable with you as the general manager than the guy that we have right now.
Well, I don't think I can do any worse than the last 10. Okay, than the last 10. Okay, my number 1 coaching candidate. Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson, I think, is number 1 for me because I think he brings something. He's been with this organization before. He has a rapport with Dan Marino. He knows Stephen Ross to a certain extent, right? There's already relationships there with Chris Greer. I truly think that Doug Peterson's been to a Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl, right? So he can bring in a coaching staff. He knows what it takes to win. He's failed. He's succeeded. He, in my opinion, is the best candidate for the Miami Dolphins.
And he knows how to improve quarterbacks. No, I don't either. And Steven, do you know why I think they're not going to do it? I think that they are afraid of Doug Peterson because didn't he have a little old power struggle in Philadelphia
at the end?
Sure, but you know who else just had a power struggle at the end? Brian Flores. And so Mr. Yes Man, Chris Greer, who doesn't want anyone to use him as a doormat the way the last guy was trying to do, I don't think he wants that smoke. I don't think Chris Greer is going to go out and
I hate to break it to you. We're going to be in the same. We're going to have the same conversation 3 years from now, 2 years from now.
Every 3 years.
We're in a vicious cycle as Dolphins fans.
Yeah.
And by the way, for those of you who don't know, I'm very optimistic. I'm very positive. But since this whole thing has gone down this week, I'm like, I don't trust the Dolphins. They've not given me a reason to trust them, Alex. Explain to me something, Alex. What have they done to show you that they are trustworthy as an organization over the last 20 years? Don't worry, I'll wait. There's nothing.
I would love to give you an answer just so I could be a smart ass, but I can't even come up with a joke. Nothing. Honestly, nothing. Who they've hired, who they fired. Well, let me ask you, how did you feel about the Flo firing? Were you upset or did you understand it? Because I think I understood it because, we'd heard enough of the noise about he and Greer not getting along and he and Tua not getting along. It didn't shock me.
Well, number one, I was live on air when it happened.
Ooh, that's interesting.
It was, man. It was. Estefan, who's actually was Eps 1234 or Estefan, one of the two, one of those crazy people in the chat there, said, "Hey, Flores just got fired," and I thought they were trolling me. And then I went to the Twitter, and I saw Ian Rappaport's or whoever, Adam Schefter's tweet, and I was like, "Well, Well, what do we have here? So I had to digest this with everybody as it was coming in. Now that I've had a week to kind of sit on this and think about it, Alex, what I would say is I understand why they did it from a standpoint of it's the Dolphins, it's Stephen Ross.
Right.
I just think they chose the wrong horse. I think they chose the wrong horse. I like Grier. Yeah. I don't dislike him. Chris Grier had the best draft of this past NFL draft of any GM.
The one before that, though, not so good.
Not so good. And he's arguably, he is a decent GM. He executes good trades. He makes decent signings. Like people have ripped him, ripped him there's a portion of the fan base, not the entire fan base, that ripped him for the Jerome Baker extension. I thought it was great. That man 3 years in a row has been our leading tackler, right? I feel like he does things a little bit better than past GMs, but the one thing he hasn't, and this is where the gray area is, Alex, who's in charge? Who has the final say?
Right.
And now that Flores is gone, there's no excuse for Grier. And none. I could cuss on your channel.
Do it.
Shit or get off the pot.
Yes, I got Steven to cuss.
Bro, shit or get off the pot. And I don't know, man. I want to see this team do well more than anything in this world. But I'm so scared about this decision because it's going to affect our franchise not only the next 3 years, Alex, but even if it doesn't work out the next 6 years, because you still got to go through another regime after that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was why, and I did, people are upset at me for different reasons. Some people were upset at me for having McDaniel 2, not 1. You were upset that I even had him in my top 5, but that's my biggest reservation on someone like Mike McDaniel or someone like Kellen Moore, who they're interviewing, for example, who I just think is way too young and way too green to get that job. But even like somebody like McDaniel, who I like a lot, but my reservation is this is such an important hire. Mm-hmm. And, the last 4 coaches that have been hired under the Stephen Ross tenure have all been assistant coaches or coordinators with no head coaching experience. And here we are looking for another coach. So I think this time around, I would like them to get somebody with head coaching experience this time around. Because if nothing else, as you have outlined, at least if you get somebody with head coaching experience, you at least know they're going to be able to build a competent staff. Because I thought that was honestly now apparently the Dolphins, the big problem that they had with Flores apparently was his people skills. The biggest problem.
That's why Caldwell didn't stay. Imagine, Alex. Imagine if Caldwell had stayed. Imagine.
Yeah.
If Caldwell had stayed and been the true offensive coordinator here, guaranteed with the same staff, we would have won 1 or 2 extra games each year.
I agree.
Guaranteed.
I agree. And I was going to say the Dolphins' problem with Flo, apparently his people skills. My biggest problem with Flo was staff building, but those two might have been related, Steve.
They went hand in hand.
I think those things very well went hand in hand because anytime he tried to bring in somebody with some experience like Caldwell or, Chan Gailey, there may have been other reasons why the Gailey thing didn't work out. I wasn't thrilled with the offense he was running, but still, the few times he tried to bring in experienced people, it didn't last. And for the most part, he was bringing in people like the offensive line coach who just were not qualified for those jobs.
Nobody stayed under Flores, Martina Davies said. 100% right. Nobody stayed here either. There was so much turnaround within the organization and the coaching staff. And also the roster, let's be honest. The roster had, the first year? I don't want to give them the count for the first year, don't get me wrong. But, they still broke the record for the most players on the roster that first year of any NFL season, right? Whether it was his fault or not, that's the reality of what it was. I think that when you're looking at the Miami Dolphins, you have to take a lot of things into account. But the number one thing is it starts at the top, Alex, and that's Stephen Ross. Mm-hmm. And as I stated on my show before and how the people in the chat so we're talking about a guy who we hear for 10 or 15 minutes from every 3 years.
Yeah.
And is he a part-time owner? I don't know. I think at his best, he does mean well. I do. I think he wants to win. I just don't think he is going about it the right way, nor is he listening to the right people, nor has he made the right decisions. So 3 strikes, you're out.
Yeah.
So I have to be against Ross. Although I truly think deep down inside he wants what's best for the organization.
He does.
He's just not doing it.
Yeah. And that's what makes it hard, right? Because like he's not like we've seen some scumbag owners over the years. He's not that. Like he is he like you said, he has the best interests of the team and the fans at heart. He's just not made the right decisions. So wow, this is going to be. And do you think the Dolphins are going to get this done relatively quickly? Like at what point do you think we'll be announcing a new head coach?
Well, my hope is sometime early next week, but I don't know. I don't have any inside information or anything like that. I think that, you're looking at the team. I want it to be done before the Senior Bowl. I want them to be able to evaluate talent, for
nice.
that aspect. I don't have if this was a team that I could predict, I would say, well, we already would have had our coaching candidate the moment we fired Flores.
Or we never would have fired Flores.
Well, we never would have fired Flores. And see, and that's a devil's advocate that you have to play here, right, Alex? Like you have to say, did Ross back the wrong horse?
Yeah.
Because essentially what I believe happened, and what I refuse to do on my show is talk about these puff pieces. I don't want to say puff pieces. I don't want to disrespect people, but these, hey, supposedly this was said in the locker room or this was done on the side. I don't want to get into all that. What I do believe is that there was a rift between Tua and Flores, and that there was a rift between Flores and Greer. I believe all that. I ultimately believe that Flores gave Ross an ultimatum. Me or them. Which one is it going to be? And he chose them.
I wonder if he was expecting them to pick him. Like, I wonder if he thought,
I 100%
he probably thought, man, I've seen some of the drafts that Chris has had, 2021 again was really good. I'm not going to count that one, but he's probably thinking, Flo, I've seen some of these drafts that Chris has had. He's been here since 2004. Like, I've got 2 straight winning season. I'm going to put my you-know-what on the table, and I'm going to give them an ultimatum. They're going to give
his cards on the table. He put all of his cards on the table. I just said I think that he thought he was going to choose him over Greer. What I will say about that, Alex, is I think that he thought he had a good enough case to win that argument.
Right.
And I think what, again, hurt Flores was his personality. He did not have a personality that people meshed well with, that people got along with, and it came off disrespectful or it came off demeaning, and that's fine. I don't need you to be, and I think that's where Stephen Ross should have been. This guy's, look, I get the extra game made us go over 500. I understand that, but it is still 2 back-to-back winning seasons. If you look at it in hindsight, if you look at it in comparison, you just win 1 extra game both years. You're in the playoffs 2 straight years in a row. And what's the difference of 1 game? We can go down and talk about the timeout that was taken in London for the Jacksonville game. We could talk about the interception that was thrown in Atlanta, of the Atlanta game. There's a million things that we can go and talk about, right? And we could talk about how Ryan Fitzpatrick got COVID in the last week and couldn't play in that Buffalo game. Would that have made a difference? We don't know. But what I do know is I think that Flores put us in the right and in a somewhat, I want to be very careful how I choose my words, Alex. I think that Flores put us in a position to be successful with what he knew.
Yeah.
And I think his character flaws and the things that he was still learning are the things that ultimately led him not being our head coach anymore.
Right. And also I think it's worth pointing out that, again, Flores, when he got this job, was a first-time head coach. And so that's one of the reasons why it's not always a good idea to give somebody their first shot to be a head coach. Because guess what? Brian Flores.
So I don't want Brian Dable. I don't want Brian Dable.
Yeah, I don't either, especially because I think part of what they might use to justify a Brian Daboll decision would be, hey, this guy likes Tua and he's worked with Tua before. I don't.
Or McDaniel. I don't understand the infatuation with McDaniel.
Well, he could fix this running game, I believe. I mean, he is regarded as a genius, and his play designs are legendary. But I understand, and I know why you're rolling your eyes at me. Because again, he
doesn't even call the plays in San Fran.
I know.
Shanahan does. And look, if we go down swinging with a coach that's been a head coach before, I can gulp and live with it because I feel like that was the best decision for this franchise right now. But if we go out and we get Brian Dable, Kellen Moore, and I love Eric Bieniemy, by the way. Love Eric Bieniemy.
And he's not even a candidate, apparently. So
I can't even put him in my list. But,
really?
But do you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying that those are the wrong decisions. I just think they're the wrong for this franchise because
too risky.
Let's look at something real quick. Bill Belichick went to Cleveland, failed, went to New England, succeeded. Right? Yeah. Don Shula went to the Baltimore Colts, failed. I mean, did he? Miami Dolphins
and you say fail? I mean, he did get to a Super Bowl. He lost the Joe Namath thing.
I get it.
He didn't fail that badly.
No, but he didn't get what he needed. Right? Right or wrong?
Yeah. Right.
So I think that the key to success is a coach that's been there, failed, or had a sense of failure, aka Doug Peterson, even though he won a Super Bowl.
Right. Well, and on that note, and we both love Peterson, but then why not Dan Quinn? Because somebody pointed this out in the chat that like people hold against him for losing a Super Bowl, but he got to a Super Bowl, and yeah, they pissed it, but they did have a 25-point lead in that Super Bowl. So why not Quinn?
Dan Quinn is a very interesting person to look at for the Miami Dolphins, right? You look at what he's done in Atlanta, and here's my knock on Dan Quinn. You have a top 5 quarterback in Matt Ryan, and I put that in quotations because that's arguable. I get it.
Yeah.
But you have a top 5 quarterback in Matt Ryan. You have a decent defense. You have a humongous lead going into halftime of the Super Bowl, and you can't close deal. And you can
but you don't think he learned from that, though? Because I'm pretty sure that if you were to put him in that same situation 9 more times, he would probably not. He would make the right decisions
instead of throwing the ball 40 times in the second half.
Yeah, which was not the right decision.
Yeah, stupid. But neither here or there.
Yeah.
What bothers me is how it ended in Atlanta, which is the same thing that people can argue with me about Doug Peterson in Philadelphia, right? And that was a bad breakup in Philly at the end. And the same thing, with Dan. So look, for me, Dan Quinn just if the Dolphins went there, it wouldn't be the wrong decision. It just wouldn't be my top decision. But again, it would be a coach that has been a head coach that can put together a coaching staff that has had semi-success in the NFL and knows what it takes to get to a Super Bowl. I just want to win a playoff game. That's all I want to do.
Just want to get back to the playoffs, man.
Playoffs? I'm just trying to win a game.
I gotta let you run on that note, sir. Let the people know where they can find your awesome channel and your awesome morning show.
Miami Sports Music is the YouTube channel, Miami Sports Music. You can find me each and every morning, like 9 a.m. usually, on Clock Blockers, home of the #1 Miami fan morning show. And that's Monday through Friday, and we got a lot of big stuff in the works.
Yes, we do.
And it's gonna be fun. It's going to be fun, people. Just be on the lookout. Next week, I got some major announcements, so be with me next week, all Monday through Friday. Got a big announcement.
Love it. Good stuff, sir. Enjoy your weekend coming up, and unfortunately, we can't watch our team play, but enjoy the bevy of playoff games we have coming.
I will, man. Be easy, Alex. Thank you, buddy.
You too, man. Love this dude, Stephen D. Miami Sports Music, always bringing it strong. In a couple of minutes, we are going to be joined by Lee Sterling, ParamountSports.com. I've been getting by big time with our guy Barry Barger's picks. He's done a nice job for us. Sterling, I'm happy to have Lee back in the rotation because Lee has won us a lot of money. He took some time off for the holidays. Last week, it was my fault, not his fault that he didn't come on. So he's going to be back after like a 3 or 4 week hiatus. He's going to be back on this program. So that is going to be very good. But I want to remind you guys, and I love the turnout on the chat. We're going to throw shout outs at the end of the show. We flashed up some of the messages. We'll shout out everybody we possibly can. And everybody watching this right now, please smash the like button, hit that thumbs up button at the bottom of your screen, and make sure you subscribe to 5 Reasons Sports YouTube if you haven't already. And most importantly, make sure to support our sponsors like the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. I was out of the Quarterdeck this week, guys. I had some of that fresh seafood. The Quarterdeck is such an awesome place. Whether you want to dine outside on the patio and watch the games on the big screen out there or indoors with the flat screen high-def TVs covering every wall, the Quarterdeck is an awesome place to watch a big game. make it your home away from home for the playoff games this weekend. I mean, I'm just going to be camped out at the quarterdeck all day Saturday, all day Sunday, watching NFL playoff football out there. The seafood is so fresh. The burgers and sandwiches are awesome. The cocktails will cure your ails. They have 2-for-1 happy hour all day, every day. When you're there, ask about the 2-for-1 drinks. The happy hour literally never ends at the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. The beer is always ice cold. Guys, not only can you watch every big game at the Quarterdeck, you can watch every big fight out there. They have every UFC pay-per-view fight for zero cover charge. You pay nothing at the door to watch a UFC pay-per-view. They've got locations all over Broward County. If you want to find the location nearest to you or peep their menu before you go, check them out online at quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. Oh, yes, and we have an official sports book here on Donno Daily. We'll be getting some winners from one of our experts here in a couple of minutes, but betus.com. They are America's favorite sports book. They are the 3-decade leader, and they are placing your bets, taking your bets, I should say, for the NFL playoffs coming up. And yes, my friends, yes, they are available in Florida. People ask me that all the time. Well, why do you think I talk about them? I'm Florida-based. I'm on betus.com every single day. They are taking your bets in Florida, and we have the best bonus in the industry for you. When you sign up at BetUS, use our code 5RSN125, and they're going to give you a 125% sign-up bonus. Bet NFL playoff games, NBA games, NHL games, live betting on all of it, by the way, UFC pay-per-view fights, betus.com with our code 5RSN125. You bet, you win, you get paid. betus.com. I missed this face. I mentioned to my viewers, Lee, it was my fault you weren't on last week, and you had taken a couple weeks off, which is totally cool for the holidays before that. So I missed you, Mr. Sterling. Lee Sterling for ParamountSports.com is back. How are you?
Great. Recharged the batteries, went to New York City, visited my youngest daughter, and great. I mean, the weather was like in the 40s and 50s. I literally wore like a sweater, a light jacket, and was not even cold. It was beautiful. Saw some good plays, some musicals, ate dinner. Didn't catch COVID. I guess that was the highlight.
That's the real miracle right there. Right. Well, you're back in Florida now. You'll probably get it down here like everybody else does.
Of course.
What plays did you see, by the way? Broadway?
So I saw To Kill a Mockingbird with Jeff Daniels, which is closing. It was great. I mean, you read the book, didn't you? Or did you read the cliff notes?
Everybody. No, I read the clip. It was a signed reading, but yeah, you caught me. I definitely read there's no chance I actually read the book. I read the cliff notes.
Okay. That was one of the few books I actually read. And the assigned reading, but great play. Jeff Daniels is great. The cast was incredible. And then I saw Ain't Too Proud, the story of the Temptations musical was really good. The only problem is they're taking a pause, I think, until June. They're moving theaters To Kill a Mockingbird. And the day that we went, we actually went that night to see Ain't Too Proud, they announced that they were closing after 3 years, about a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
They hadn't been able to perform. So it's all just two great performances. The cast was fired up for both. The audience was into it. So nothing like live theater, in New York City.
Yeah, I don't mind like actual live theater. What I don't really like is, how the new trend is they're releasing plays on streaming services.
Right.
And I can't get into it. Like, last year, everybody's talking Hamilton this, Hamilton that. Like, if I had actually gone to a theater and seen it, I probably would have loved it. But I'm trying to watch this thing on Disney Plus last year, and I wanted to jump off a bridge. Like, I'm like, I can't watch a play on TV. It doesn't work for me.
Right. Did you see Hamilton live?
No, I never did.
Okay. So I saw it actually on the national tour when they performed in Fort Lauderdale, probably 2.5, 3 years ago. It was great. In fact, I think 3 of the 4 leads are now on Broadway. So got to see a talented, my daughter's seen it 3 times, but or 4 times. I think 4 actually. Wow. She's seen it twice with the original cast, the second cast in Chicago, and also with me in Fort Lauderdale. So that's something you got to see live. And that's one of those because you have to understand what they're saying. You kind of got to do a little background research beforehand and know the background of all the players. And you got to be up close. If you're on the upper deck for Hamilton, it's pretty tough to follow.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, let's see if we can get back into the swing of this betting thing, because I'm a little out of practice. I haven't spoken to you in a few weeks. We've got, obviously, the super wild card weekend is what they call this thing now. I mean, we're loaded. We got 2 games on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, 1 on Monday. What are some of the picks that you like this weekend, Lee?
Okay, so there's no real trends as far as favorites or underdogs going back to 2010. I think it's 44, 45, and 1 as far as favorites. You would think that it would be more pronounced with the favorite, the first game, but hasn't been the case. Now, unders are hitting at a 65% clip since 2010, 93 games. So what we're seeing is some of the games, like the first game, the Cincinnati and Las Vegas games, these two teams faced each other early in the year, 32-13 final for Cincinnati. I think both teams with rookie head coaches as far as postseason, never coached a team as a head coach in postseason, and 2 young quarterbacks as far as Joe Burrow has not been in a postseason game, and also Derek Carr is I think only played in 1. But I think both teams are going to want to try to take away the big play conservative. We might have like a 7-0, 7-3 first quarter. So I'm looking at the under in that game, under 49.5 total points. I think that's the right way to play that game. I like Buffalo a lot against New England. I think New England.
So do I. I'm glad you said that.
I think that they peaked like a month ago. They look like they are just limping down the stretch here.
Because my measuring stick is if the Dolphins can beat these guys comfortably, what are the Bills going to do to them in the playoffs?
Right. I agree. I think that Mac Jones limping down the stretch, last 4 games, 5 touchdowns, he's thrown 4 interceptions, pick 6 in the Miami game. The Buffalo game, they played twice. The first game where New England beat them in Buffalo, that was weather. You talk about weather-aided game. We've seen some games in torrential downpours. Weather affected Tua in that Tennessee game, although I think they were going to lose anyway. But big factor because you got to know weather. Ryan Tannehill can throw a wet ball. He's got huge hands. Tua couldn't. All week you heard, if you're listening in certain places, you found out that he was having trouble deciding whether he was going to throw with a glove. In this game, the first game, there was 50-mile-an-hour winds with 60 to 70-mile-an-hour gusts. Buffalo couldn't throw the ball. It's going to be cold, single digits, but winds will be under 10 miles per hour here. I just think that Josh Allen throwing the ball,
good.
He throws missiles. He can run. In fact, I think he's run for over 60 yards in each of the last 3 games, one of them almost 100 yards. So New England, I think they go down here, and I think Buffalo beats them big time. Another game I like is Arizona, Monday night. Now, Arizona, whenever you think things are going great, they fall flat on their face. But on the road, 8-1 against the spread. They played 9 away games. Teams in the NFC have played 9 road games this year. And they also have a quarterback in Kyler Murray who can escape the rush of the Rams, unlike most quarterbacks. If you have a quarterback sits in the pocket, the Rams will get after you, and they'll usually take care of business. But that could be a factor here. Also, Rams are without their top 2 safeties. So they even signed Eric Weddle, who has not played in 2 years. I mean, come on. No. I like Arizona. I think the wrong team's favorite. I think they'll win that game something like 30-27. And then I've got an over. So Dallas and San Francisco, both teams have good offenses. San Francisco's finally healthy. Jimmy G, he's not affected by that finger injury. Deebo Samuel, one of the greatest weapons right now in the NFL as a receiver, running and catching the football. Tough to guard, big, strong, fast, won't come down with one guy. And then they also got back Elijah Mitchell, who had missed some time with injury. He played the last 2 games. He's finally healthy. And Dallas, I mean, they got weapons all across the field here. And Dallas's defense, they can stop people and they also can create turnovers. So they might give up some big scores and some drives, and then they'll come back and get a pick six or a fumble recovery, a strip sack, something like that. So I like over 50.5 a lot in Dallas, San Francisco.
I love it. A couple things I wanted to ask you because, you're a South Floridian, but you're not biased like a lot of Dolphin fans are one way or the other. Like I can get straight answers out of you. So I need to ask Lee Sterling, do you trust Tua Tagovailoa for the future? This is one of the most divisive topics a Dolphin fan can have. Some people worship this guy. Other people hate his guts. Do you think Tua Tagovailoa, is he going to be the long-term answer for Miami?
No, I think you've got to have everything around him be almost perfect. They need at least 2 offensive linemen. Now, do I think if you got 2 real good offensive linemen, a running back and another receiver? Yeah, but that's going to be tough to do. They should have drafted Herbert. In fact, I went on the airways the 3-4 months or even 6 months leading up to that draft saying that Herbert was the right guy. I mean, I thought that Chris Greer should have been fired for that alone. So I just would like to see come out what really happened behind closed doors between the owner, the general manager, and the head coach. Maybe Flores will start singing if he gets another job. If I'm a reporter, it'd be the first and last thing I'd ask him. So that to me is troubling. And I know they hit on all 3 picks this year, but until that time, for a couple of years, they made mistake after mistake. And I just don't know if he's going to continue Greer to do as well as he did this past year. Hopefully he can, but I don't think Tua is the answer.
So here are 7 confirmed candidates for the head coaching job. More could come into the list, but as of right now,
and let me say something about Moore. People should watch the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay,
I don't think he's that great a play caller.
So, and to me, and not only that, but I think he's just way too young. Like 33-year-old, no head coaching experience. No, thank you.
Here's why I don't think they're going to win a championship. And I think they're very talented, Dallas. You can't throw to the tight end 9 times for 70 yards or 80 yards. That's not going to win you games in the playoffs. And that's what he's been doing. They're not utilizing their best weapon, CeeDee Lamb, to the utmost ability. So I have a problem with that. Watch that game and just sit there. And what I like about, I've done well in the last decade picking games in the college bowls, the NFL playoffs. Everything slows down. So you can just sit there and watch one game at a time. There's no distractions. I don't have to watch 3 games. So just think that might be a factor there. I don't know if there's any great candidate. I think that's the only problem was they fired Flores without any, home run candidate.
Yeah, they fired Flo, and then he might be the best candidate who's available in the carousel. It's like,
it's like in your business. It's like in your business. I tell program directors all the time, they're like, what do you think? I let this person go and I hired this person. I'm like, do you think it's an upgrade? Do you think that a lot of times what's crazy is I've talked to a lot of program directors and a lot of times they don't even have a list of candidates when they let someone go. And it's very similar, I think, to the NFL. I mean, people talk all about time about this great mind. I bet you if you even looked at Bill Belichick and some of the other great coaches, Nick Saban, I bet you they were BC students. I don't think, most of these guys are not brilliant. Let me give you an example. Here's something I noticed, and I was a B student. I wasn't an A student.
Same here.
I was a B
student. B- really, but yeah.
Okay. I bet you've never noticed this. College football, let's say you're down by a touchdown and you've got 40 seconds to go, and you complete a pass for a first down. Receiver catches a ball for 20 yards, 45 seconds to go. You need a touchdown. Yeah. You catch the ball. What do? You
go out of bounds.
No. Let's say you're tackled, middle of the field.
Oh,
what do you do?
Okay. I don't know. What do you do?
Yeah. Well, think about you're the receiver. You caught a ball. Midfield, you're down by 7, 45 seconds to go, clock's running. What do you do?
Give it to the referee.
No, that everyone says that. No,
really,
and almost everyone does that. So the clock is already stopped. They're not going to start the clock until
in
the ball is
football.
set. Yeah. Why don't I sit there and roll the ball
time.
away?
Yeah.
Or at the very least, just leave the ball there. Get up and run to your position. Yeah. I have not seen one player do it right. Isn't that amazing? All these great minds.
Wow.
And there's other instances I'll bring up that happen over and over again. That this, it's like simple things. They talk about all the time in basketball, the 2-for-1. But probably 30 to 40% of the time, college coaches and NBA coaches can't even figure that out. So just one of many things that I see that aren't handled correctly by coaches.
Okay, so if you're talking about geniuses, what do you think about Mike McDaniel? Because he doesn't have a lot of experience, but this guy went to Yale. Like, you're in his play designs are legendary. People call him a genius, with the play designs, especially in the running game. Like, do you think this is a guy worth taking a chance on despite the lack of experience?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I don't like retreads, so I would take a shot on a young guy. And we definitely, obviously, need an offensive coach.
Yeah. But by the way, our guy Brooklyn Rob, who loves you, by the way, he says, "Hey Lee, just letting you know, mush. That's me. I'm the mush. Hates the elderly." He's saying this because when we've been talking about coaching candidates, I've been saying it. A reservation I have on Jim Caldwell, who might not even be a candidate.
Oh, Jim Caldwell. Okay,
67 years old, Lee.
Okay, he should not even be brought up. So you look at his record, you're like, oh, he did great with Detroit, shouldn't have been fired. Yeah. In-game coaching, I rate coaches and I put power ratings on coaches. His last year he coached, his last 2 years, I had him rated 28th and 29th out of 32 coaches. He makes some of the dumbest decisions over and over again. So, and it's not like I think he's 66. So not like 64, 60. Not like he's some spring chicken.
I think he'd be 67 by the time the season started. So to me, he's 67.
He's the one guy stay away from.
Wow. You heard it right there. Lee Sterling, ParamountSports.com is the website. Tell people what they can find there, Lee.
Well, just do everything. Football, basketball, college and NBA. Also hockey, probably number one in the world over the last almost 2 years in hockey, and UFC picks back up. I'm even going to give you a selection as we head out the door on the UFC. The first fight of the main card, Joan Anderson Brito. He's fighting Bill Senior Perfecto Algeo.
What a nickname.
I think that Brito is just stronger, better. I think he's going to take him down and either grind him out or submit him. The thing about Brito is he's listed as 26 years old. He's probably not a day under 40. I mean, you talk about birth certificates, when you used to play, you see, there is no way that this guy is 26 years old.
You remember Danny Almonte, the Little League World Series kid? He was supposedly 12. Right. He was like 16.
Right. He's got to be at least 34, 35 years old. So he hasn't lost a fight. I think he's on an 11-game winning streak. He won the Contender Series fight that he was on. Algeo 1-2 in the UFC, and both those fights went to decisions. Just unimpressive. I like to target guys who I think are going to be out of the UFC within a year, and I think Algeo's one of those guys. So I expect Brito to grind him out and, like I said, either decision or submit him. And I think Senior Imperfecto is going down.
He will be El Dejecto after our guy is done with him. Miami Trev, right? Yeah. That is great. Lee,
I like that.
I missed you, man. I can't thank you enough for taking some time. Have a wonderful weekend. Best of luck to you.
You too. See you.
Lee Sterling, ParamountSports.com. How about that insight? How about them apples? Great comments as well. Let's see. All right, I'm going to throw some shout outs in a minute. I remind you guys, please, again, support our awesome sponsors, Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. Let me get the banner here. This is the best place to watch all the games this weekend. 2 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, 1 on Monday. I'm going to make the Quarterdeck my home for this weekend while I'm enjoying 2-for-1 happy hour, ridiculously fresh seafood, ice cold beer. Find the location nearest to you at quarterdeckrestaurants.com. Make your wagers this weekend. Hell, I mean, what does Lee Sterling have to do? Does he have to sign you up himself? I mean, he just gave you all the bets to lock in. You guys can do the rest. Make your account today and make your deposit at betus.com, the official sports book of Donno Daily, America's favorite sports book. They're in now their 27th NFL postseason. We give you the best bonus in the industry. If you sign up with our code 5RSN125, type in 5RSN125. They're going to ask you if you have a promo code. You do have a promo code, 5RSN125. They're going to give you a 125% sign up bonus. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. And friends, Prize Picks, the great folks, they are our newest partner here on Donno Daily, but they've been on the 5 Reasons Sports Network for a while. If you are tired of losing in fantasy sports, times are changing. It is just you versus the numbers at Prize Picks. It is the perfect place for you, whether the injury bug ruined your season-long team or you're a veteran in the daily fantasy space. Prize Picks puts a spin on fantasy, right? So you go based on fantasy projections and you lock in parlays. You select 2, 3, or 4 players and decide if they're going to go over or under their fantasy projection. And guys, you have a chance to win 10 times your money for getting 4 predictions correct. Entries are so simple. They can be made in less than 60 seconds. And you can go cross sport, by the way. It doesn't all have to be players from the same sport or the same game. It's really fun. Sign up today at prizepicks.com or on the Prize Picks mobile app and use our code 5. That's FIVE. Use our code 5 and they're going to give you a 100% deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks truly is daily fantasy simplified. All right, let's throw some shout outs. And I'm not even going to read this because I think if I read it, that will be a mush. But Brooklyn Rob is right. I haven't talked a whole lot about these guys, and look what they're doing. Okay, so yeah. Rudy Small, thank you so much for tuning in. Gabrielle, the underscore in there. Thank you so much for tuning in. And by the way, this always happens. Like we do more than an hour most days. People will tune in like late in the show. They're like, I thought you were ranking the coaching candidates. Why the hell isn't this guy ranking the candidates? If we were doing betting talk there. I'm wrapping it up here in a moment. Go back and watch the replay. We spend like the first 40 minutes talking about Dolphins head coaching candidates. I gave you my power ranking from number 7 to number 1. I'll go over them again real quick, in fact, for you. Now, I was doing a power ranking not based on anybody. I am power ranking the 7 individuals who are confirmed candidates for the job. Interviews the Dolphins have requested and perhaps already done. We have 7 confirmed candidates. I rank them in order. Dead last is Thomas Brown, the Rams running backs coach and assistant head coach. Not enough experience, only 2 years in the NFL as a coach. He is the same Thomas Brown, by the way, that coached under Mark Richt at Miami years ago. But I don't think he's a realistic candidate. Number 6, Kellen Moore, too young, too green, and like Lee Sterling articulated very well, he's not really that great of a play caller. I mean, he's got great offensive talent. His play calling can be a little mind-numbing. Number 5, Vance Joseph, Cardinals defensive coordinator. He was a defensive coordinator briefly down here in Miami. I didn't like his head coaching tenure in Denver. And I also think hiring somebody from Adam Gase's staff, the optics wouldn't be great. I don't like him very much. Number 4, right in the middle, Leslie Frazier, Bills defensive coordinator. You know, when he was head coach at Minnesota, they didn't develop any quarterbacks, so I hold that against him. Number 3, Brian Daboll, Bills offensive coordinator. I like him, don't love him. I would love him if he brings Ken Dorsey down to work under him here as offensive coordinator, though. And Daboll has worked with Tua before at Alabama, so maybe he can get a little something extra out of Tua. Number 2, Mike McDaniel, OC, San Francisco 49ers, regarded as a genius. The only thing I hold against McDaniel, who seems dynamic and very intelligent, I hold it against him that he's never been a head coach before, but I still like him. My number 1, and I was getting cursed at, people were throwing tomatoes at me, but my number 1, and again, this is out of the confirmed candidates. My number 1 out of that list, Dan Quinn, Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator. He's got head coaching experience, got to a Super Bowl. and he can build a staff. He had an A-plus staff on the offensive side of the football. He's a defensive guy, but he had an A-plus offensive staff during his time in Atlanta, so I know he can build a staff. Now, a couple of notable names who have not gotten interviews and may not be candidates at all. Doug Peterson. I think they may be afraid of Peterson because he had a power struggle in Philly. They don't want another power struggle here. Also, I thought 3 yards per carry, they made an interesting point on Peterson. He's such good friends with Marino, and I'm sure he has other friends in the Dolphins organization that maybe like they may not want to hire their buddy because then what if you have to fire him and it ruins the relationship? I wonder if that has anything to do with it. I think probably it has more to do with it, the fact that he had a power struggle and Chris Grier doesn't want any more power struggles. Jim Caldwell, it's been reported by 3 yards per carry that he may not even be a candidate, that they're not interested. And Jim Harbaugh has not only not interviewed for the Dolphins, he has not been interviewed by any NFL team. That may come. That may happen. He's been strongly linked with the Raiders. Now, Stephen Ross did say he doesn't want to be the guy that takes Harbaugh from Michigan. Stephen Ross, of course, loves Michigan, went to Michigan, gives a lot of money to Michigan. I would say, though, that if Harbaugh definitely wanted to go to the NFL, then Stephen Ross might as well give him a job at that point. But I think Harbaugh is trying to get the bag from Michigan first. I think he's going to see if Michigan ups their offer, and if they don't, maybe he'll take his talents back to the NFL. But yeah, those are candidates that have not been interviewed and might not even be candidates for the Dolphins. All we know are the 7 names that have been confirmed, and I like some of them, don't like some of them, don't love any of them. Doug Peterson would be my top choice, and he might not actually be in the mix. Devin Jordan says, yo, Donno. Yep, Donno, that's who I want, Dan Quinn, only because he's been to a Super Bowl and knows how to build a staff. And hopefully he learns something from, the being on the wrong side of the biggest comeback in Super Bowl history. Hopefully he learns something from that, okay? All right, so let me throw some more shout-outs. You saw Devin Jordan, huge shout-out to him. John Marco, huge shout-out. He says, just hire Ken Dorsey as head coach. Nah, I think you're based on the rest of it. I think you're joking. Ed Reed, DC, Andre Johnson, OC, Willis McGahee, running backs coach, Reggie Wayne, right, wide receivers, Jeremy Shockey, tight end coach. So we're trying to just rebuild the 01/2000 because Reggie Wayne left after 2000. But we're trying to build like the 2000/01 Miami Hurricanes. I can dig it. Let's see, who else have I not shouted out? A lot of people. I'm gonna miss some people. I'll say the same thing I say every show. If I skip over you and don't shout you out, I didn't do it on purpose. I'm doing the best I can. When a lot of them come in, I scroll up too far sometimes. Dash Oost, thank you so much. Let's see, who else? Rudy, I think I may have already shouted him out. Brooklyn Rob, thank you. Miami Trev, thank you so much for tuning in. Yahweh Bulla, thank you so much. Does Lee have a clue if McDaniel can build a staff? No, nobody does, and that's why he's not my very top candidate. He's never had to build a staff before. He's been part of some good staffs, so maybe he saved some of those phone numbers, but he's never had to build a staff before. Blake McDonald, thank you so much for tuning in. Zachary B, my dude. Too bad Herbert ended with the same record as Tua. Does that mean anything? I mean, I'd take Herbert over Tua in a heartbeat. Sorry. Anthony Hernandez, thank you so much. Somebody who disagrees with me, I'm sure, on the Tua Herbert is Gota Vailoa. Thank you so much. Tannehill has smaller hands than Tua. Check your facts, and every quarterback needs a team around him. That's true. I mean, some quarterbacks need better teams around them than others, and I think Tua is one of the ones who needs better quarterbacks. We spent 2 minutes talking about Broadway musicals, and John Malone was not having it. John was not having the Broadway talk. This is not a podcast of football. It's about seeing Annie live. I've never seen Annie. I think I saw a high school performance of Annie live when I was a kid, but I've never seen like the real thing. Do they still tour? I'd love to see Annie. What a delightful orphan she is. Let's see. Who else have I not shouted out? Miami Sports Music. Don't you dare talk about Hamilton. I think they love Hamilton over there at Miami Sports Music. The actual play might be fine. I just watching the streaming version of it on TV. So boring and so ridiculous. I mean, come on. Who else? Martina, thank you so much for tuning in. Scummy. Donno is a Donnie Wahlberg clone. I kind of see it. I think the hat helps because this is the sort of hat that like Donnie Wahlberg wears these, I think, all the time. So I think the hat definitely helps. The complexion is similar. I've never thought about that before, but now that you say it, I see it. Like I'm like, do you think that would that make me more or less popular? Like, I'm a happily married guy, but if I was trying to get laid, do you think telling people I'm Donnie Wahlberg, would that increase or decrease my chance? I think it would increase them. I mean, he's not Mark Wahlberg, but Donnie Wahlberg. I think this guy gets around. Estefan, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate Estefan. He loves Stephen D as well. Flip Floppers is the unofficial name for Stephen D's morning show, which is actually Clock Blockers. Patrick Mullen, thank you so much. I think I thought this was also from Estefan. Oh, they both wrote it. That's why. EM Dolphins and Estefan both wrote in Flip Floppers. EM Dolphin fan, thank you so much as well. Alfredo Artiaga, thank you so much. And he joins us every Monday. He's one of the awesome voices of the 3 Yards Per Carry podcast. And they break some news. Like, these guys are really good at what they do. So make sure you subscribe and listen to 3 Yards Per Carry. They do 2 episodes a week. So get on that. Andrew Harris, thank you so much for tuning in. Luis Perez, Scummy, who I may or may not have shouted out already. Double shout out in case I'm doing it twice. Cap for Life. My dude's dude. He's awesome. I love Cap. Real Deal. Thank you so much. Michael Pulisic. Thank you so much. Any relation to Christian? I won't, or you might just be a big Chelsea fan or US MNT fan. So welcome aboard. Patrick, thank you so much. Adam Outdoor Bushcraft. I'm guessing you've got a YouTube channel because that's probably not the name on your birth certificate, but I will check out the Adam Outdoor Bushcraft channel if you got some good stuff. I like to spend some time outdoors every now and then. Let's see who else. Maddie Blue, thank you so much for tuning in. My guy David, I don't know what this is. Did David pass out onto his keyboard or something? I hope you're all right, David. It's it's not coherent, whatever you typed there. Miami Trev, thank you so much. Olmex, thank you so much for tuning in. Everybody got to get along. Flores wasn't kissing ass. That is for certain. He was definitely not kissing any ass, and that may have been one of his issues, why he no longer has a job here. All right, let's see. John Muller, I think we already shouted out John. Ooh, now I'm really scrambling because you guys got into so many great conversations that I keep wanting to shout out the same people multiple times. Oh, I try so hard to get to originals. Now I got to scroll way up. All right, let's see. Anybody else get in here? Doug E. Fresh, thank you so much. I think this was Gianmarco was reacting to me having Dan Quinn number 1 in my power ranking. He said, cancel the show. Just so you guys know, I don't think I'm going to be able to swing a Monday show because I'm going to be filling in for the Hawk and Crowder show. So I'm going to be doing 4 hours of radio that day on 560 and on 790, 2 to 6 p.m. I'm going to be co-hosting on Martin Luther King Day. So I'd like to try and do this show here as well. It's not going to be at the same time, obviously. If I can get a show in the morning, I will let you guys know on social media, but I may not be able to, just depending on what I do with my son that day. So I may not have a show Monday, but I will be on the radio for 4 hours on 560 WQAM and the Odyssey app if you want to listen through the app. All Un 561, thank you so much. Indeed, thank you so much for tuning in. Let's see who else. I'm getting to, there's so many shout outs today. I'm getting tired. I'm fatigued. I want to take a nap or something. Shouting out so many people. Chris, the Finns Tailgate, one of our awesome viewers. Couple Russian spammers tried to sneak in. I don't shout out the spammers anymore because I don't want anyone to think they should be clicking those links. Big Dan 305, thank you so much for tuning in. Chris Roden, thank you so much for tuning in. And that might be it. If I skipped anybody, it happens. I apologize. We will talk to everyone again next week. Have an awesome weekend. Enjoy the playoff games. And, Marcus just snuck in. He says he's warming up to the McDaniel idea. Yeah, throughout the week, I have warmed up a lot on McDaniel and obviously on Dan Quinn. So I've warmed up on both of them. They have been kind of rising up my list throughout the week. So I will update. And maybe by the next time we have a show, we might have a coach. If we don't have a coach by the next time we have a show, we will talk about the options if anyone else has been added to the mix. That'll do it for this episode. Huge thank you. We will talk to you guys again next week, Monday or Tuesday. We'll see which day we do the first show of the week on right here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. See ya.